Hello YouTubers, it's September 9th, 2015. Well, this video is going to be a little bit different than most videos that I do. One thing in particular is I don't really have a subject that I had planned on. I guess the subject is that this is my spiritual birthday, 9/9. I was committed to the Lord, whether you want to call it sanctification. A lot of times I refer to it as the day I got saved because there was such a radical change in my life that day. So today there'll be some testimony, probably some commentary, which I don't do a lot of. I try to stick to the facts, and we'll just let the Lord kind of lead me here. So now when I say my spiritual birthday, last October, Jonathan Cahn wrote a book called Mystery of the Shemitah. I put my first video out in November, and most people had not even heard of what a Shemitah was when I put the first video out. Actually, I've had over 73,000 hits on that video. No, actually, that was a different one. I had almost 40,000 on that one, but I had 73,000 on the Valentine's Day video. But anyway, all that aside, when I started looking at what a Shemitah was, I noticed that the Lord had given me confirmation to do what I do, a personal confrontation based on birthdays around my children and other family members. Now, I have almost a dozen brothers and sisters, but they're all half brothers and sisters. My mother is a 3-time widower or widow, so I have a lot of half brothers and sisters. But I only have one brother and sister that I was raised with my entire childhood that she had given birth to. And I'm saying that because I'll refer to them here in a little bit. So, excuse me. When I first found out about the Shemitah, I looked back, and it turned out that, now, don't get me wrong, I met Jesus when I was 7 years old. When I was 9, my father died, and she married a minister about a year later. So I was raised in the home of a minister most of my childhood, the childhood I remember anyway. But like most people, or a lot of preachers' kids anyway, about the time I hit 16, 17, I walked away from the Lord. And it was it was more subtle than not. What happened, even as a child, I was introduced to another god, Mammon. I learned my first business, I don't know, about 8 years old. I was selling toothpicks. I would buy some toothpicks and some cinnamon oil, and I would soak them overnight, and they were 3 cents a piece, 2 for a nickel. And anyway, from then on, there was this lure of money, always out there. And then it seemed that no matter what I put my hand to, prospered. I mean, it used to freak me out sometimes. It was like the Midas touch. And so, every time the Lord would woo me or try to pull me back into the fold, Mammon would rear its head, and all of a sudden, my income would have a significant increase. Sometimes it would even double. Many times it doubled. And so, as that happened, as the years went by, I found a career where I was making some really good money, 6 digits. You know, a couple $100,000 a year. We got the house at the lake. You know, we got my childhood sweetheart. You know, they call us Chuck and Diana because seems like we have the perfect marriage. We have 4 children. We had also, you know, a couple corporations we had opened up, and just, I mean, life was going really, really, you know, good. And that's why I am so thankful sometimes about the Lord reaching out there on the last day of a 7-year Shemitah cycle, 4 Shemitahs ago, on September 9th, 1987, and in a hotel room outside of Chicago in a suburb, a Holiday Inn. and he reached me, and we made a covenant together, and I tell you, of all things, he reached me with a little book, 88 Reasons Why the Rapture's in 1988, by a NASA engineer named Edgar Wisnot. Now, we're coming up on another great date-setting date. But the thing about the 88 reasons, it shouldn't have been 88 reasons, because there wasn't 88 reasons why the rapture was in 1988. There was 88 different examples of how the number 40 was important in the scriptures. And that's what I read. I read all 88 reasons why the number 40 was important. Everything from 40 days in the desert to be tempted, 40 years in the desert. I mean, the 40s, there's about 88 of them. And the scripture is powerful. The Word of God is powerful. And it broke away these level after level of the onion peel until it got down to the real chuck. And the Lord, He talked to me in my language. You know, He doesn't talk to you in Chinese. You're not Chinese. And He doesn't talk to a Chinese in America. And He talked to me as a businessman. And even though I knew on this last night of Elul, just before, 2 nights before Rosh Hashanah, when He had predicted the Lord was coming, I felt in all my being that the Lord wasn't coming. But what this book did tell me was that I knew that when the Lord did come, that I would be spiritually bankrupt. And that's the words the Lord used with me, because I understood what that meant. Spiritually bankrupt. And so I made a decision to serve Him that night. And I made a decision that if nothing happened, that I would continue to serve Him. Which is what a lot of you who are not serving God right now need to know, that if nothing happens September 23rd, that you would continue to serve Him like you're going to live for another 40 years. You have to have that type of commitment. You can't. This is not fire insurance. That's not going to work. He knows your true intentions. So choose you this day who you're going to serve. Anyway, 4 Shemitahs ago, this is my birthday, and life has never been better, because I had to walk away from that kind of money. You know, I went from that kind of money within 6 months. Public aid, no lake house, no new cars. You know, it's like if you got born again and you owned a string of strip stores, or whatever. You would not be able to continue into that line of work, and I was not able to continue in the line of work I was in. And I'm not going to glorify the enemy by going into any details there. Those who know me know what I did for a living. But the Lord lifted me back up, and He made me a printer, and I used some marketing techniques I had learned before. And I was able to raise my family after we came off of that narcotic called public aid about a year later, and halfway comfortable. I mean, they never longed for anything, and we were able to buy a small country home, and the Lord was good. Now, you know, running out of time pretty quick here, but you know, that's okay. This love of my life, and I'm only going to bring this up because I want to talk to Christians out there about getting ready for September 23rd. And this love of my life, you know, even though I had this new born-again experience, 10 years later, you know, I did fall down as the high priest of the home, and I didn't do the things that I should have done, and the enemy got in there. And because we fight not against flesh and blood. And one day, this childhood sweetheart of 30 years, 4 children, and we had raised a couple other children that we had taken in, goes to work one day and never comes home. And she leaves me with 2 daughters and a little 5-year-old crack baby that we had had for a couple years, and her own mother. And come to find out that my best friend of 33 years, she had moved in with him. And so it was a double betrayal. And I only bring that up because I want to talk about forgiveness, people. Those of you who are Christians, you have got to forgive. And I am happy, so happy that I am not dealing with this type of forgiveness right now, because I don't know if I would have time to do it. You know, when you've been hurt so bad that even though in your head you say you want to forgive, and you can't get your heart to line up to it because the hurt is so bad, it takes a supernatural intervention for healing to happen. And what the Lord had done for me there was I started praying for them. And the first time, let me tell you, I could barely get their names to even flow off of my lips out loud. But I knew that I had to pray for them every day. And it was, I don't know exactly how long, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, when I actually noticed that as I prayed for them, God's supernatural agape love for them flowed through me in my prayers, and forgiveness came automatic. And I thank the Lord I don't have to deal with it, because I truly forgave them. And I'm not going to get into details about going to them later. And forgiveness is very important, and usually it takes an action. Jonathan Kleck, I gotta love how he was hurt so bad by this job he did, and somebody stole his. Not only did he not get paid for it, but when he bought the kid a laptop, and the kid took the laptop, and when the insurance money came, no pay for this horrible job of urine soaked carpet removal from cats to whatever, and he bought himself a car. And Jonathan Kleck, bitterness tried to get in there, but he went out and he bought the kid a cover for his laptop. Sometimes it takes an action. You want to know why the Lord said, if they take your coat, give him your cloak also? Because if you'll follow through with some type of action, it does something inside of you. It enforces the forgiveness. So folks, do what you have to do to forgive. Now, once you've done forgiveness, there's another level. It's almost the difference between sanctification and salvation. Offenses. And I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to say, if you're a Christian, do a search on offenses and how important it is not to be offended by man or God. This is important, folks. Sometimes you don't even realize that you've been offended. And especially with the Shemitah year, it's about forgiveness of debts. And we're being followed right up with the Jubilee year. The Jubilee year, it talks about slaves being freed and the lands going back. Let me tell you why that happened. Because when God gave Israel the nation, it gave each tribe a particular set of land. Well, as the years went by, somebody might go in debt. They used their land as collateral. It got taken by somebody else. Maybe someone gave themselves as a bond servant. Believe me, people like servants. People like slaves. Hard to let them loose. They feed them a little more money, extend the contract. Pretty soon, generational bond servants are existing. And so God said, after 50 years, we're going to reset the clock. Slaves go back, lands go back. Not going to let that happen. So the Shemitah, it's about forgiving debt. Your neighbor, if you owe him, he owes you money, forgive it, wipe it off. I had someone who just recently got me for about $900, and I had to just say, I forgive her. I wiped that off. Someone said today, well, no, she don't even owe it to me, because I forgave the debt. There is no debt. So, I was taking some offense earlier this year when I started going blind in my eye. It happened earlier this year, and I didn't think I was holding it against the Lord, but I think I was. I was being offended. Why would you do this, Lord, after 54 years, when we're so close to the end here? I'm trying to be about your business here with all of my heart and being, and you take one of my eyes, but you know what? Thank the Lord I have the other eye, and it's perfect vision. Could you imagine being blind and have no sight? Oh my goodness, I'm so happy I have the one eye. So folks, for people who have ears to hear and eyes to see, a half-blind guy has told you tonight, please. Oh, I don't know, I wanted to touch base with just how the Lord has, through the birthdays of my children, has given me confirmation that I'm to speak this message. And I'm not going to go into the September thing, because how much more do you need to hear? Shemitah, Blood Red Moon, Jubilee, the poll, 166 days from Christmas, or from Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. Come on, folks. It goes on. You don't need 28 reasons, 33 reasons, or 88 reasons. If you don't get it by now, then you're turning a blind eye. So anyway, my oldest son was born on Rosh Hashanah. My second born son on 1/19, which is the same as of Av. My oldest daughter, Hanukkah. My mother's birthday this year was the 17th of Tammuz. My sister, January 5th, right between the red blood moon chart that is symmetrically perfect. Have I missed anybody? Of course, my youngest daughter, my last born child, her birthday is September 23rd. God bless you.